Well, that was a wild ending to a great win, and you thought that you were going to get away without Eric and I talking about it. Not so fast. We're going to talk about this victory, just what happened, what unfolded, and then a little preview of the game today. Thank y'all for tuning in.
Jainer Diaz, this is Locked On Astros.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Grae H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on X at Eric Talkstros. You can find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Go and check out the Locked On Astros podcast. Brett, where can you find you at?
They can find me at h-vac on X, Instagram, and TikTok, at Stros411 on X and on Facebook, at Back to the Bullpen on Instagram, on X, and on YouTube and iHeartRadio. Back to the Bullpen. Look, I'm always positive, always Stros. I'm positive those umpires need to be fired. I'm positive that Rob Manfred needs to get his umpiring crews under control. And I'm really positive that I liked the win by the Astros last night. It was a scrappy win, but it was much deserved, I think.
Guys, go and make us your first listen. Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Go and check us out. Go and check out Michael Connor on Locked On Astros podcast as well. He does a great job as well. But today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Just download the GameTime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. And as long as you did not fall asleep during that game last night, you watched one of the best games I have watched probably since the 2017 World Series, the Astros versus Dodgers. It was intense. It had everything you could want. It had controversy. It had everything going on. Like when Profar was like, I did not get hit by the pitch. The Astros were like, he did not get hit by the pitch. And everybody was mad about that. This had a little bit of everything. It had great pitching. It had bad pitching. It had a good hitting. It had bad hitting. It had a little bit of everything. This was a playoff matchup. This is exactly what we expect to see in a potential World Series matchup. And after seeing these two teams play, I wouldn't be surprised to see these two guys meet up in the World Series. Yes, the Astros have a long way to go. Padres do too, because the NL is pretty stacked, but they have the bullpen. They have the lineup, the Padres, the Astros. They pretty much have gotten there in recent years. So I think this is a preview, and it was the atmosphere. You had the people saying, let's go Astros, let's go Padres. And even Josh Hader, who's been one of the best closers for the Padres, he got booed. So that was a game that you can take your socks off, your shoes off, and just sit there and watch and enjoy it. Right, Brett?
Yeah, definitely. No, it was. And, before everything went down, you had Hunter Brown pitching his tail off. Hunter Brown simply competing, doing what he's been doing all basically the whole second half of the season. I mean, this guy's every bit of a pitcher that I want pitching for my team, especially in a playoff run. Even though, I mean, he only had 3 strikeouts. He did give up the 2 runs and 5 hits. He gave up the 1 home run. Manny Machado got the best of him. That pitch, I don't think he meant to leave it hanging over the middle of the plate. And Machado's too good of a hitter to get a pitch like that by him. But he pitched well. Brian Abreu came in. I mean, you had Presley, you had Hader, and then after Hader, you had Neris shut the door. So this team from beginning to end did what they needed to do to get the win, because it was a low-scoring affair, but it was tight, 4-3. You get that final run in the 10th inning. But what I think everybody is thinking about to this day, or to this hour before the day after the game, is this terrible umpire crew. I mean, look, I've said it a lot before. You don't ever want to blame an umpire for a loss. That means you didn't do enough to win. But the umpire was bad on both sides. Like you mentioned, like with the Altuve thing. I mean, there was a balk call. I mean, I went back and watched that balk. I guess it was a balk, but the Profar, I've never seen a player that pissed for getting a free base. And because that was his way of contributing to the team was with his bat. The umpires took the bat out of his hand. They took the bat out of Altuve's hand, and they really had the opportunity to curve this game in the other team's direction with those calls. And I think that's what so many people had a problem with. Not only that, like, was it another less than 70% accuracy rating? Like, I know the first two games, the umpires had less than 70% accuracy on called strikes. They were calling balls outside of the zone strikes. They had one of the lowest percentages of the season. I don't know what it was last night, but these guys have been bad from, I mean, everything. With the Altuve thing, I mean, they didn't even ask another umpire. But the good thing is the Astros won. Their magic number is now down to 7. But yeah, you're right. Crazy. I agree with you 100%. World Series vibes. It would be really cool to see the Padres and the Astros play in the World Series. I think that would be a great team to match up against. I think we could get the better of them in a 7-game series. But man, what an intimidating series. Offensively, this is a team that strikes out the least. Luis Ariz got struck out again by Hunter Brown. He came off the mound yelling at Bregman when he did that. I mean, this did have a playoff vibe. The atmosphere was electric. The Astros fans were bold and showed up. So yeah, this was definitely a great game to remember and great game to watch for sure.
Yes. I don't know if you're talking about a balk or if you're talking about the pitch clock violation by Josh Hader.
No, I'm talking about the balk by the San Diego Padres pitcher.
Okay. All right. But the Josh Hader thing, this is basically like icing the kicker. And so you have Hader coming in for a 4-out save. And this is after all the boos. And then you have the batter not even settled at the plate yet. And then they call basically a pitch clock violation on him. And he's like, wait, I wasn't ready. The hitter wasn't ready. Why are you doing this? And then the umpires had to come in and they basically had to do a rule check with New York to figure out what to do there. And even Justin Verlander is like, y'all have got to do better. So this was a 6-minute delay. So of course,
that's what it was. Okay. I forgot about that. Yeah. And that's okay. Go ahead. Keep going.
So of course, what does Josh Hader do? His first pitch, he throws it into the ground and it's pass ball that ties the game at that point. And it's a fortunate situation, but they basically iced the kicker. So it just feels like for the last 3 games, I'm not one of these conspiracy theorists, but it just seems like we've had for 3 straight games, we've had a Astros coach get tossed. Y'all wanted Joe Espada to get tossed. He got tossed today. Of course, it took Jose Altuve taking his shoe off to show that he fouled the ball off his toe. And I've never seen that. But he basically explained after game, no, he wasn't trying to show up the umpire. Right. He said, if I fouled it off my hand, I would remove my glove. And that way I can show him where it hit, or if it hit me with a pitch or something, I would show, hey, this is the red spot. So that's what I was trying to do. And Grae Kessinger had the best play of the day. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But he also had the best quote. He said, as soon as Jose Altuve started unlacing his shoes, I grabbed my glove. He was ready to go, baby. He was ready to go.
Well, and look, this team believes in themselves. Jose Altuve even mentioned Grae Kessinger. Jose Altuve didn't have to mention Grae Kessinger, but he's that kind of a player. He's a player that deflects attention away from himself. And he said he was still upset about it after the game. He goes, I'm still upset about it because that call, he goes, that was a foul ball. It was off my foot because it was the second time that's happened to him this season. And it's very, very frustrating. It could have really altered things in a bad way. And so at the end of the day, the Astros did what they need to do. And They got one over on the Padres. They've got to really work hard today, because at the end of the show, we'll talk about the matchup, because we got a formidable opponent coming up in here. When we're talking, if you're listening to this later, we're literally doing this. It's 4:54 right now, about 45 minutes before first pitch.
Hey guys, thank you for making us your first listen every day. Go and become an everydayer. We'll be back in a second.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Astros. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Go to FanDuel.com today. It is America's #1 sportsbook. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel. Well, we got something a little bit different for you. Something that will please your listening ears and your watching eyes. That's right. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and you'll get 3 weeks free of the NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. That's right. Then with your YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. All you need is a Google account, a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. From money lines to prop bets and so much more, FanDuel.com is America's #1 sportsbook. Check it out. Download it today. It is America's #1 sportsbook. And we also have GameTime. GameTime is America's #1 place to go for all your tickets. Look, this app is easy to download. It's free. Go to GameTime app and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. I use this on the regular. I've gotten a lot of my tickets, and I can tell you that they have super deals every time. They have deals that are easy to find. They have this new Game Time Picks, which helps you filter out all the things you don't want to look at and all the tickets you're searching for, and you don't have to waste time doing that. It's a super deal. You can find seat views, the lowest price guaranteed, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, so much more. The best ticketing site to go in the industry. Your purchase is covered 100%. And if you find a ticket in the same row in the same section for a lower price, they will credit you 110% the difference. And what I do is I select basically the option that helps me see all the expenses. So I know leaving the app how much I'm going to spend. There's no surprise fees. There's no hidden fees. It's all right there for you to see. So go and check this out. Terms do apply. Create the account and use the code Locked On MLB for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time.
Hey guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Whether it's on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to us. Make us first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Go and check us out. Go and check out Michael Connor at the Locked On Astros podcast as well. And we do apologize for last night. I was literally so excited after all the dramatics from the game. I was going to try to do a solo podcast because I'm not going to say why, but somebody else was.
Stop.
But I just couldn't do it. It was too late. I was too tired and I couldn't do it. So I just figured we could do it here. We'd have a little bit more energy. I can have my boy back with me. So I'm glad that we were able to do it. But we do appreciate everybody that makes us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, and becomes everydayer. So Brett, there's so much that happened in this game. I believe that Profar was probably had to be held back at the end of the game too, because he felt like, he was like, he's been one of the Padres' hottest hitters recently, hottest hitters in this series. He's probably their most valuable player at this moment. And he was livid after the game because he was like, I was not hit by the pitch. And apparently from what I've heard, especially on the radio, they said that as the umpires were walking off the field, several Astros players, coaches had to be kind of separated from the umpire staff as they were walking off the field because of just everything that's happened. Because it's just, there's so much that can happen. I mean, you got to do your job. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of the veteran guys were out there just saying, hey, you're better than this. You've been doing this for how long? How can you make this mistake? How can you not know the rules? Even Joe Espada was like, I know the rules. How do you not know the rules? How do you have to
Yeah,
go to
well,
New York and wait for 5 minutes?
yeah. I look. One of the things I don't envy for the umpires is literally having to know that rule book. That rule book is intense and it's deep. And yeah, if they've done it that long, they should know. But let me just ease your mind a little bit about the umpire behind the plate tonight. Or actually, I'm kind of using a play on words here. But Chris Conroy called the lowest strike of the season to Carlos Santana, like 5.1 inches off the ground.
Mhm.
This guy has a terrible record. This is from Umpire Auditors. It is the actual account on X. It's called Umpire Auditor, and he is probably one of the worst at calling balls low and in the zone. So maybe Rams, get that ball below the zone. Maybe you'll get the call being called your way, but be careful those down and away strikes that they like to throw Pena that he does a lot of swing and miss on. Maybe that's going to mess with us. I don't know. I'm hoping that tonight we're able to ride a good framborization of the Padres and maybe the Astros. I think the Astros can jump on early tonight. We'll be fine. But we have another umpire that's probably going to infuriate you. So just go into it expecting these guys to be absolute dog water because they have been. It's not just one umpire. It's this whole crew. It's like
Right.
Island of Misfit Toys. It's like maybe they came from the Angel Hernandez tree. You know how they have like coaching trees in the NFL? Maybe they were like Angel Hernandez disciples or plants, and that's why they're so bad.
All right, so let's before we move on to the next game, let's address the fact that Kyle Tucker was the guy that had the game-winning hit yesterday.
Yeah.
So he is making a contribution. So he had his basically spring training to get ramped back up with the Astros. Normally, you go down to the minor leagues. He did not have that option. The Astros needed him right away. So now he looks like he may not be prime time Tucker, but he did have a stolen base in that game too. Granted, the pitcher was not paying any attention to him, but we'll give it to him. It's still a stolen base, but he is looking a little bit better. He's playing some defense every once in a while as well. And also, you had Hector Neris. Yes, he did throw a wild pitch to his first pitch as well, but the runner got to third base. Then he ended up loading the bases, but somehow with Manny Machado up there, one of the best hitters in the game. And earlier in the game, he thought he walked twice. Manny Machado, the look in his face was like, what the heck? I walked. And then he hit the home run off of Hunter Brown. And so Manny Machado is a good guy. If you give him a extra chances, he's going to take advantage of it. So, but I was thinking the bases loaded. This was it. And I was just like, you know what, win or lose, I can't do the podcast now. I'm too tired. But then you had Grae Kessinger in there because he had to grab the glove because Jose Altuve took his shoes off. And so he had to go in there and be the hero. And bases loaded, he was a hero indeed. If that ball by Manny Machado got by him, it would have scored at least 2 runs. The Padres would have won this game. You'd be talking about being down 0-2 in the series, and it'll be a whole different vibe. So I know on the broadcast they kept on saying, or no, it was Chandler Rome kept on saying Manny Machado is a vibe. Grae Kessinger is a vibe. With that play, with how pumped he was after that, that was an awesome play. This is a guy that hasn't played much with the Houston Astros since mid-July. He was pumped up. He got the big play. And so I hope he gets a chance to stay. And he may not play much, but that earned a lot of respect for a lot of players there. And it saved the Astros this game here.
So Grae Kessinger said afterwards that when he positioned himself where he was expecting the ball to hit off the mound. And they said, well, why would you? Because the ball did hit off the mound. So why would you, what made you think that? He said, because this is baseball. And you're in a tough situation.
Right.
And this is when things go sideways. This is when things go wrong. And he said, if it hits the mound, it kind of careens that ball. It can go all over the place, right? It can change the direction. And luckily, it just spun it back a little bit faster to second. He was there, made an amazing stab, made an amazing, great little, slide, little spinning toss there. and just sealed the deal. So you love to see that. Grae Kessinger was ready. Grae Kessinger not only did that, but he was also the run that scored on Kyle Tucker's hit.
Right.
So he not only scored the winning run, he got the last out of the game. And
Can we confirm he was wearing shoes when
yes,
Grae Kessinger scored? Okay.
yes. Grae Kessinger was not walking around barefoot. But that's what you need. And Eric, if we go back and look at all the Astros playoff victories, we look at Derek Fisher from 17. We look at Chas McCormick. We look at Luis Garcia, guys that come up that are a big part of playoff runs that aren't necessarily the biggest names. Right. Whoever's on this team is going to contribute.
Yeah, and that's the good thing about the Houston Astros. You always find somebody that's there to maybe get the victory. So, guys, we'll go and continue this conversation in a second. Thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day.
All right, I want to tell y'all about a new site. Are you a card collector? And are you excited about card collecting? Or are you someone who you look at the prices of the cards and you're like, you know what? I don't know if I can spend $2,000 on that Mahomes rookie. Well, that's okay, because I've got this thing with arenaclub.com. They have slab packs. Now it's possible to score gem mints for a fraction of the retail price. Every card that is listed was a hit every week of Arena Club. Arena Club is the only repack that provides real value, a complete value for all possible cards, and a clear hit on rates on each one. The slab packs revolutionizing the repack game with transparency. After your pools are revealed, they'll immediately be placed in your showroom for safekeeping, selling, trading, or auction. The Arena Club grading process is accurate, fast, and transparent, with a full grade rationale provided and explanation of how your card was scored. Whether you're buying, selling, trading, or displaying, Arena Club is the card collecting platform you have to check out. So right now you can get 10% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/lockedonmlb. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB. That's arenaclub.com/lockedonmlb. Code LOCKEDONMLB for 10% off your first purchase.
Hey guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day, whether it's on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe to us. Make us first listen. Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Go and check out the Locked On Astros podcast. And if you thought yesterday was stressful, don't worry. There's another game with the same umpiring crew. So there's going to be some more dramatics. And Shoeless Jose is going to be playing DH, from what I understand. So this will be definitely a interesting matchup. You've got two pretty good pitchers. I know that Dylan Cease is somebody that the Astros have been, or Astros fans have been wanting to get for several years. He's been a dynamic pitcher for the Padres, and I think the Padres, granted, what the Astros did with Kikuchi, that's great. But what the Padres did at the trade deadline, that made them favorites for a lot of people to go to the World Series. But Framber Valdez in his last three appearances has a 0.44 ERA. Dylan Cease has a 3.71. You have Framber with 20 strikeouts compared to 18 to Dylan Cease. They both have 7 walks between them. So I think that Framber Valdez is on a roll right now. So I think if you're looking at what they could do on the mound, I think you build off the momentum. Eric Getty pitched really good. Hunter Brown pitched pretty good. If you can limit this dynamic Padre offense to 2 runs from your starting pitchers and then hope the bullpen does a good job, you can win this game. You just got to score some runs. Dylan Cease is a tough cookie, but the Astros have scored off of him before.
Yeah, no, I mean, another really, really tough pitching opponent. And, you know, it's the same lineup. So you're not getting any relief from those guys. Those guys aren't going to take it easy on you. The San Diego Padres have their own goals and mission in mind in these last few games of the season. But, you know, like you mentioned, look, the last 3 appearances, I mean, Framber hasn't given up more than a run in each of his 3 starts. Of the last 3 starts for Dylan, almost 4. So Framber, like you mentioned, is hot. And I like the lineup: Altuve, Alvarez, Bregman, Diaz, Singleton, Pena, Hayward, Dubon, and Myers. Opposing them, Profar, Tatis, Machado, Solano, Merrill, Bogarts, Cronenworth, Diaz, and Lockridge. We got 2 catchers with the name Diaz. That's interesting. And Eric, tonight, you've got guys you've got some guys that are available, guys that haven't been used a whole lot. Scott, Presley, and Abreu are available tonight. The last 3 days. Well, I don't know. Scott's been used 16 innings the last 3 days. So I guess we'll have to see. This bullpen's been used a lot.
How many innings?
So Scott, the last 3 days has been used, has actually 16. Is that no? That's 16 pitches. Sorry,
that's what I thought.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say innings?
You said 16 innings. I'm like, dang, he started 3 times. And
no. Yeah, 16 pitches. Let's see. The least amount is Presley with 15. And then after that, it's Brian, it's a King, Hader, and Abreu all tied with 21 pitches. Like in the last 3 days, or even, yesterday Abreu threw 21, so he probably won't go tonight. So you probably won't see Presley, Harris, or Abreu. You need Fromber to do a good job tonight.
All right. So Aaron Smith says, how does Fromber pitch at Petco Park? Well, I just looked it up. He hasn't pitched there much. He's pitched there 1 time. He's 0-6. He's 0-1 with a 6-something ERA. So
was that during the 2020 playoff, or is that against the Padres?
This is just versus. This is at Petco Park. He pitched 6 innings, allowed 4 earned runs. He had 4 strikeouts in that game. So he only has started 1 game at Petco Park. So it's not something where he has a vast experience, because you don't really play at Padres that much. And most of the times when we have played them, it's been at Minute Park. So you can't really put too much into that. And probably when they have played at Petco Field Park before, he may not have started. So the limited stats, it hasn't been good, but hopefully he can go out there and put out a good effort today. But the Astros overall have been putting out good numbers. And I just think that you have Hayward out there because Ben Gamel, I said it right, is actually on the 60-day IL. The Astros are serious this time. They actually put somebody on the 60-day IL right away because he has some fractured, what was it? Fibula. So he's going to be out for probably the rest of the year, the playoffs. So this is something that they're like, they don't want to skirt around and saying, hey, well, he might be back. He's day to day. They just said, no, he's out for a little bit. So he's going to be out for the rest of the season. So it's a shame because you have Chas McCormick, who's finally starting to get hot. He may be back in time. But then you had Gamble, who's you had some valuable bench pieces, if not starters. But to his credit, Jason Hayward has come over from Dodgers. Not only has he made some great plays defensively, but he's not been knocking the cover off the ball, but he's been making his presence felt. And that's all you can ask for somebody like that, a waiver claim. So then you had Cesar Salazar come up for Gamble. So this allows Espada to go ahead and play Caratini and Diaz at first base a little bit more, or to pinch hit for somebody, or just have different situations. So I think that's why I was surprised they sent Cedeno down earlier, or Salazar, sorry.
Yeah. So we've got our third catcher up here. Maybe he'll contribute. Maybe he will give a rest to maybe Diaz or even Caratini. But I like where the Astros sit going into tonight's game. I think they can go out there and take care of business here in a few minutes. And if they do, happy flight home. And they have a 4-game set, I believe, against the Angels at home. And it's a Hispanic Heritage weekend this weekend. They got some cool celebrations. The Sugar Skull add-on probably is sold out, but they have that going this weekend. They got some other things going. So, hey, you should take the family out. It'll be your last regular season weekend games, because after Seattle, they go to Cleveland for 3 to finish up the season.
Yes. And who do you think's favored in this game? It's actually by a slight margin.
The Houston Astros.
The Houston Astros.
Oh.
So The Astros are favored in this game, so we'll see what happens. Overall, I think you're going to have another stressful game. This offense for the Padres is legit. The Astros offense can be legit. If Framber Valdez goes out there and deals, limits the exposure to the back end of the bullpen, and you don't have to deal with a whole bunch of other guys, I think the Astros will be pretty good. So they need to get a win. It wouldn't hurt because you're going to be facing the Angels next. So if it's not the end of the day if you lose, but
it's not the end of the world, but you better get a win. I mean,
yeah,
come on,
I want them to win. I'm just saying the Padres are a tough team. So I will feel a lot better if they leave San Diego 2-1 versus 1-2. And I think there's no such thing as moral victories, but I think especially after how game 2 went, I think that would be a big lift for this team. And thankfully the Yankees beat the crap out of the Mariners. And for some reason, do you steal home on a 3-0 count, Brent?
Do I
with the bases loaded? So bases loaded.
Okay.
On a 3-0 count, Victor Robles for the Mariners stole home. On
Why
a 3-0 count.
Are you asking me if it's proper baseball or
yeah?
Why wouldn't you?
Because 3-0 count with the bases loaded.
Okay.
It's not. And Justin Turner batting. So you have to watch it. It's the Mariners.
So he was put out by.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the question is, was he sent or did he go on his own?
I don't know. But it was a bad play, and it kind of emphasizes what's going on with the Mariners recently. Yes, they have won some ball games, but until the Astros are able to lower that magic number down from 7 to all the way to 0, I'm not going to totally put them to bed. But every time they make stupid stuff like that, it's like, what are they doing? They've already made a big collapse. I actually put this in the talking points real quick. The Astros, since the trade deadline, have increased their playoff odds plus 39.4%. The Mariners are they have decreased their odds the most at negative 44.1%. So the Astros have risen while the Mariners have fallen. So guys, let's be glad that we're Astros fans. And I know that we'll probably have to talk about this a little bit later, but Dana Brown did address in a article, the question and answer with Brian McTaggart. I don't know if you saw it, but it's about Alex Bregman. And he was asked, well, are you going to resume talks with Scott Boras about Alex Bregman? And he said, well, I ran into him when we're in California and we kind of had a little conversation and we kind of agreed to after the season, before free agency starts, because you know that if free agent of a team, you can have a short window before they become an actual free agent. So I think that they have agreed to meet prior to before he becomes an actual free agent to work on something. So does that mean things going to happen? Who knows? But at least there's still that dialogue. They're not going to do anything until of course, the playoffs are over, but anything. So any final thoughts?
No, just go out there and get the win. Win the series. You beat good teams recently. Let's keep that trend going. Come home and beat the brakes off the Angels. Send them to Cancun quickly. And so we can take care of the Guardians and take the division, get into the playoffs, and let's go to the World Series.
All right, guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Whether it's on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to us. Make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, and we will see you after a game. Hopefully, we'll be talking about Framber Valdez dealing and the Astros scoring. We'll see you tomorrow, later tonight, and go Astros.